Hey guys, it's Graham. What's cracking? Welcome to the channel and thank you for 1,000 subs. I figured I should put this one at the top and let all the newcomers know what it is exactly that I do here. As you can see from all the little graphics and stuff, I'm all about reading and writing and drawing. This book right here, which I shared recently on the Ironside podcast, is Louis L'Amour's Education of a Wandering Man. I've got a video about it on the channel. This was one of the first books that really shaped my life in this vein, that encouraged me to pursue a life path where I would just work and read and write, and that I would find an immense amount of fulfillment in all of those things. As I'm looking over on the other side of my shelf, I've got a bunch of books on writing as well as illustration, things that I've used to improve my artwork over the years. I realize that for a lot of you, that's not going to be of the highest interest. In fact, a lot of you are probably here for the reading aspect of what I do. So let's talk about that. I've got a book here to recommend, because there's always a book to recommend, right? Thomas Jefferson Education by Oliver DeMille. My friend Crystal recommended this in 2020. School was getting ready to ramp up for the fall. We were deciding not to send our kids back to public school. We didn't want to worry about mask this and plastic box that and all the extra regulations, in addition to not being completely thrilled with the quality of education that our kids were getting. Yada, yada, yada. There are plenty of good teachers and administrators and stuff in the system, but the best people to teach our kids and to raise our kids are their parents. It's us. And so we wanted to talk to Crystal, because she's a very successful homeschool mom, and say, what resources do we need to get into this? And this was pretty much the first and only book that she pointed us at. I think she might have made a couple of other recommendations later, but this one was the central one. Thomas Jefferson, who is largely remembered as one of the most educated men of the Revolutionary era. Pardon me about that. I still got my computer audio on. Was a self-educated man later on in life, but he was classically educated, where he had mentors, he had tutors, and they would read classical works to him and then discuss it, dissect it, digest it, find ways to make sure that they really understood what the writers were saying, and then form their own opinions about it. That is an extremely underrated quality and an underappreciated one, I think, not just in our modern industrialized educational system, but in our modern society at large. You're largely herded into different schools of thoughts, and dissonant thought is not so openly tolerated. The ability to have a simple discussion with somebody when you disagree about a particular subject, and it doesn't even have to be a very heated subject, it's a diminishing art. But this book is not so much about debating as much as it is continuing your own ongoing education. And when I read that, I realized that without really setting out to do that, that's what I've been doing for almost all of my adult life. I first got into audiobooks about 15 years ago. I was using my mother's Audible account off and on, and then she just kind of gave me free reign with her credits. And I went haywire for a number of years there, and then finally got my own account. And, I listen to several books a month. I still read several books a month. And in the last, 6 or 7 years, I've started reading a lot less fiction and a lot more nonfiction. In fact, the bulk of what I've shared on this channel over the last little while is from the nonfiction reading that I've done. And it has been, fun is sort of an incomplete word, but it has been fun. It has been very fulfilling to read substantial pieces like I have been, and digest them and discuss them and share the thoughts that I've had with you here. That's what I'm going to continue to do. Sometimes I'll chase a thought in the same vein for a while. Sometimes I'll come completely out of right field with a different subject that I haven't touched on before. I read things that interest me. Frequently, I try to read things that line up with anniversaries of historical events. With my Mayflower video, for example, that was on the 400th anniversary of the Mayflower's arrival in North America. Other times I've hit other holidays or historical markers. that's not going to be a hard and fast rule. The hard and fast rule is going to be, if it entertains me, if it enlightens me, and if it informs me, I'm going to share it here. I'll share opinions when I've got them. Otherwise, I'm just continuing to share what I've learned. And hopefully you'll find something that seems interesting to you. You'll jump on it, and you'll jump in the discussions, and we'll go from there. We'll see wherever this takes us. But it's a train that I'm never going to get off of. I've gotten better recently about not buying books that I don't have time to read. That TBR pile is like 15 years deep. I chip away at it, and then I throw something else on top of it. It's just the way that it is. It's an addiction. I don't defend it, but I am getting better about it. For now, I would recommend that you read A Thomas Jefferson Education, so you can not only see what kind of education he got, but why it would be beneficial for us to return to this particular education model on a larger scale. One thing that I just want to touch on here, I don't want to go into too much depth about it, is that there is a debate in this country right now, late 2022, about widespread, deep-rooted, rampant problems in American education. I don't want to just put it under an umbrella and say for a number of reasons. It's largely based on ahistorical grievance theories. And when we're talking about modern things, it's also about gender and sex theory and things that aggressive groups are trying to push on very young and innocent children, and they're pushing back even more aggressively against the parents who protest this kind of stuff. Take a look at what's happening in Michigan right now. School boards are trying to push gender deviation theories on their pupils, and parents are rising up against it and showing up at these school board meetings and shouting everybody down, and making sure that they, as the constituency, are heard by the people that they hopefully elected, saying, we don't want this, stop pushing this. Elections only come around every couple of years, but those meetings come around on a regular basis. The political machine is largely interested in preserving its own power and wealth. We in a constitutional republic still have the ability to affect that, and we need to find effective ways of doing that. But that's never going to happen unless we have an informed, and I'm saying this in a positive sense, opinionated citizenry. And informed and opinionated people, well, you can always find opinionated people on the internet, but informed citizenry is going to come a lot more from reading, personal reading, contemplative, reflective reading, writing on your own, journal writing. Start a blog, track all your thoughts on a certain subject. Read 10 different books on a historical event and say, okay, this person had this perspective, this guy left out this detail. Just try to get the big picture. For example, let's see. One of the books that I read this year that made my best of year list is about the Osage murders, which happened here in Oklahoma about 100 years ago, and stemmed directly from abuses of Native Americans by, for lack of a better term, the imperial wing of the American experiment, which is not an element of that experiment that I enjoy or defend by any stretch. The flip side of that is that I also don't pay a whole lot of attention or give a lot of time to historical racial grievances, because I don't find a moral or a societal sum in those things. I think it is important to know accurate history, and I think it is important to represent it accurately. It is important to know what people did and what people had done to them, primarily so that we don't repeat mistakes of the past. But if there's one thing that humanity has been very good at, it is repeating mistakes of the past. So, just talking about Native Americans and their experiences over the last 500 years is one particular subject. I am of the opinion that yes, we need to study this whole issue, broad spectrum. Look at many different sides of it. But I'm not going to take up arms and say we need to go back and reverse everything that ever happened. I think there are a lot of practical and moral reasons why you can't do that. Nevertheless, I will listen to people that want to diplomatically have their voice heard, on that issue. I have worked with a lot of Native American people from different tribes and different jobs that are of different opinions about this thing. Some that were what you might even call an Indian nationalist, say, hey, we should kick everybody out of this part of the country because this is our land, and others that say, no, I'm a modern Indian, I don't care about that, I'm glad I didn't grow up over there and get this idea about things. People are people, and you won't find an ideology that is attached universally to a group of people based on them being from that group of people. It's not like, all Indians think this and all Irish people think this and all German people think this. It's, yeah, you got stereotypes, but treat people like people and you'll be fine. Treat history like a foreign country. Treat history like history. Study all of it. Learn from it. And use what you're reading about the past, and not to sound cheesy or corny or anything, to make a better future for us and for everybody. The whole point of learning from the past is to not do it all over again. That is why I keep reading, and I hope you guys will too. So hopefully that all made sense. I've been fighting a cold this week, as you can probably tell from my voice, but I just wanted to say something to you guys here on a Friday and just, let you guys know that I'm grateful for all of you tuning in and joining up. And as Eric July is fond of saying, we're just getting started. We're going to keep going onward and upward. As a final note, right now my current project is a manuscript. It's the 4th book in a series that I've been working on. And because of that, I'm going to be kind of devoting all of my creative energies to that. I won't be posting as much video content here as I did over the last couple of weeks. I was trying to do like 2 videos a week. And I think if I can do, 1 book recommendation a week, 1 book discussion with you all, I think that'll be manageable while I still try to get this other manuscript finished. And then I can focus on, okay, what's my next video big project going to be for the channel? My next 10 videos going to be. We'll see how that all shakes out. But that's the book that I'm working on right now. It's called Howling Wilderness. It's about it's a fantasy, but it's set against the backdrop of a race down the Appalachian Trail. I've read some books about the Appalachian Trail, but I'll talk about them on a later video. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Catch you on the next one. Drive safe. See you out there.